Repeating history? Russia has invaded Ukraine before, as recently as 2014 in fact. What happened then? Here's the real story. For decades, Ukraine and Russia have coexisted as neighbors, but not always peacefully. Ukraine was once one of 15 republics that was absorbed into the Soviet Union. They subsequently gained their independence after the fall of the USSR. Since then, relations between the two countries have been tense, to put it lightly. And in 2014, Russia annexed part of the country and sided with pro-Russian rebels within. On February 22nd and 23rd, 2014, Russia invaded the Crimean Peninsula, a region of Ukraine that Russia had considered theirs for decades, if not centuries. Initially, Russian troops who participated in the annexation didn't wear insignia identifying them as Russian, allowing Moscow to peddle the idea that the events originated and were carried out by Ukrainians. Later, however, Russia admitted its involvement before installing a pro-Russian government in the region. The reasons for the invasion and annexation of Crimea are varied and complicated. In the months leading up to the invasion, however, a series of events took place in Ukraine that spurred Moscow's interest in securing a foothold in the country. These included a number of efforts by Ukraine to establish ties with the rest of Europe. However, then Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych bowed to pressure from Moscow and canceled a proposed agreement between Ukraine and the European Union, ultimately spurring protests that led to the overthrow of his government. This then gave Russia the opportunity to move in. The Russia later admitted it had played a significant role in the annexation of Crimea and the conflict that followed. The fact remains that some Ukrainians did side with Russia during the crisis. In one instance, a few hundred pro-Russian protesters squared off with some 5,000 pro-independence Ukrainians outside the Crimean Supreme Council in Simferopol. Similarly, in the northern city of Kharkiv, pro-Russian elements effectively declared the city its own pro-Russian republic, putting the Ukrainians there in an awkward position. As one local said at the time, "That was a moment when I started packing my things and thinking where to go. I knew I couldn't stay here. If Kharkiv becomes Russian, that's it. I'm leaving." Conflicts between pro-Russian Ukrainians and pro-Ukraine Ukrainians weren't limited to Simferopol and Kharkiv either, as the two sides found themselves at odds across the country. In particular, Russian-backed forces sparked a devastating and long-running conflict in the Donbas region in the east. In the 8 years since Russia last invaded Ukraine, an estimated 13,000 people have died as a result of the conflict, and another 30,000 or so have been injured. In 2019, Radio Free Europe estimated that about 4,000 of these deaths were members of Ukrainian forces, along with 5,500 members of pro-Russian armed groups. At least 3,321 deaths were those of civilians, 298 of which were passengers on board Malaysia Airlines flight MH17. An investigation later found that the airliner had been shot down by a Russian missile as it flew over Ukraine en route to Kuala Lumpur. One key reason for the growing death toll was that Russia continually fanned the flames of Ukrainian separatist militants by supplying financial, political, and military support, helping to sow unrest among Ukrainian citizens. Inevitably, the Russian annexation of Crimea prompted international condemnation. Specifically, the United Nations put forth a resolution calling on member nations not to recognize Russian authority in the region. Meanwhile, in the United States, then-President Barack Obama called for restraint.
The United States and NATO do not seek any conflict with Russia.
Moscow insisted that Russia was simply reclaiming its own territory. Russian President Vladimir Putin told his parliament, "Crimea has always been an integral part of Russia in the hearts and minds of people." In addition to defiantly insisting that his country was in the right for invading Ukraine, annexing Crimea, and backing pro-Russian rebels within the country, Putin even backed up his rhetoric with the threat of nuclear war. In one instance, Putin told the Russian people via state TV that he was willing to back up his claim with ballistic missiles. He said, "We were ready to do it. I talked with colleagues and told them that Crimea is our historic territory. Russian people live there. They are in danger. We cannot leave them. It wasn't us who committed a coup. It was the nationalists and people with extreme beliefs." However, Putin also claimed that the nuclear option was a last resort, and that he didn't want the Crimea situation to devolve into a global nuclear conflict. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Grunge videos about world events are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.